stay with us. Now let's get into the first of our discussions this morning. I cannot tell you how depressing it has been for a number of people. And just this morning, I saw on the front page of one of the papers today what they call flood inflation. That's about what's happening in Niger State. But the wave of killings in central Nigeria, particularly in Rivers and Benue states, is definitely very, very concerning. Three gentlemen join us this morning to have the conversation. Honorable Dixon Kigero is a member representing Makurdi Guma Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. He joins us in our Abuja studio along with Yakubu Dati, who is of the Governing Council, Federal Polytechnic Ileoluji. He's former Plateau State Commissioner for Information. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We also have joining us virtually Dennis Amakri, who is former Assistant Director of the Department of State Services. He joins us virtually from the United States of America in New York. Thanks again, Mr. Amakri, for joining us today. Let me begin with you, Mr. Amakri. You've been following this whole conversation for a while, and from looking from a distance, and particularly seeing what's all the things that have been happening, what exactly could we have been missing that's made this seemingly intractable?
Looking from a distance, the protracted insurgency and then, of course, the banditry situation in Nigeria has taken so long a time. And as it progresses, we are losing lives, we are losing resources, our food security is threatened. And we are just waking up to it, because right now I can see that even the president has...
yes, it's fine.
Clearer now.
I think the president has come in to even address it by traveling to Benue himself. So I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I hope that more can be done. More can be done in the situation we are now.
More of that conversation later on this morning. Let me ask Honorable Takiguru, the visit of the president to Benue State may have revealed a thing or two, but then there are those who are having questions. First of all, your own assessment of the president's intervention. We listened to what the Tortiv said. We also listened to what the governor said. But then the president seemed to, I don't know, what's your assessment of the whole, particularly those three speeches by the three gentlemen?
Thank you very much for having me this morning on this program. I was in Benue when the president visited. As you have rightly said, I represent Makurdi Guma Federal Constituency in Benue State, where we are in the epicenter of the crisis for the past 14 years. In the last 10 years, our people have been in IDPs because of these issues, this problem of Fulani herdsmen come into our communities to attack our farmers, destroy their crops. And the former president visited Benue State the last administration. He promised everything, and at the end of the day, we are still in IDP camps. Nothing has happened. I want to appreciate the president for visiting Benue, but our people's expectations were really not met during that meeting. There were certain pronouncements that our people were expecting from the president. One of them is that we have a law, the anti-open grazing law in Benue State. We are a federation. We are a democratic country, and the state assemblies are supposed to make laws for their states. That law was enacted in the last administration. All we need for the president to do for us to ensure that that law is respected. The people of Benue State came together to enact that law. And if that is done, we will not have challenge. Benue is supposed to be the food basket of the nation. That's our comparative advantage. For the past 10 years, 19 out of 20 local governments have not been able to farm. There's palpable hunger in Benue State. What we expect the president to do is to protect our people by ensuring that that law is respected. Once you stop open grazing in Benue State, our problem will be solved. That is what we expected, our people expected from the president. Yes, he has directed security men to ensure that the men who perpetrated the last act, it is a continuous thing, should be fished out. We haven't heard anything from the security agencies whether one person or any person was arrested. It will continue like this until another incident takes place. And then we'll have another presidential visit or what? Let the president implement, ensure that our laws in Benue State, as Nigerians, are respected.
I'm a little at a loss. Honorable, just 1 second, if you can hear me. Honorable, I'm a little at a loss as to how it is the president, please help me, maybe I'm just speaking out of naivety. How is it that the president is the one that can ensure the enforcement of a law made by the state? Help us understand.
Thank you very much. We are a country where the governor is supposed to be the chief security officer. He does not control even the civil defense, not to talk of the police, the army, the DSS. How do you enforce a law without any instrument of coercion in your state?
Okay. Well, let me come back to, for now, let me come to Mr. Dati. Well, the attack, fresh attacks by gunmen in 2 communities in Plateau State that left 19 people dead on Thursday is a very, very troubling one as well. And incidentally, the governor of Plateau State was with the president in Benue when he visited. What do you make of all of these? These things have been happening, particularly in central Nigeria, that part of the country, for quite a while. It is indeed troubling. What are we missing, Mr. Dati?
Thank you very much. I think first and foremost, we need to move away and looking at what are the strategies on ground. It's important to commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for rising to the occasion by deploying strategies instead of sitting down and lamenting, because as we lament, the situations will still continue. The President has showed leadership by first and foremost signing into law the Forest Guard, because we have a lot of open spaces that are ungoverned spaces. And with the coming on board of the Forest Guard, I believe that we'll be able to cover those areas. And we have large forests, Sambisa, we have some in Ado, in Benue State, we have Dusen Zaki in Bashar, Plateau State, we have the Mahanga forest. So we have a lot of ungoverned spaces. And by the time we begin to look at security as our own responsibility, where number one, we have the Forest Guard that will take care of the ungoverned spaces, and then we begin to mobilize communities who will be the first point of resistance for any attack, because they are the first. And in most of these communities where these attacks happen, before there will be military or police rescue team, it takes hours because of bad roads and other socio-economic, infrastructural challenges we have. So it's important we begin to look forward and support the effort of government in ensuring that there is a lasting solution. Don't forget that these attacks have been going on for almost 2 decades now, surviving different administration under different parties. So we begin to look at what the president is doing. In other words, looking at restructuring the security infrastructure And the security, first and foremost, the community must be mobilized, trained to be able to be the first point of defense, because they are the first attack. They know the community. And the forest guards has a component of employing those within the communities who understand. They will also be able to handle the area of intelligence gathering and also collaborating with security agencies. But they will also be the first point of attack.
But Mr.
Secondly,
Dati,
is the issue of ensuring that the communities are mobilized.
If you can hear me, Mr. Dati,
that
yeah.
they stand. I mean, if you look at
my apologies,
examples
Mr.
like,
Dati. Just 1 second, if you can hear me, and appreciate the efforts of you're praising the president and the forest guards and all those other initiatives. However, there are a good number of people who have alluded a significant part of all of these to politics, and that the political blocs in each of the states have one influence or the other. You may want to speak to that for now, because looking at what the president said, he practically said, look, gather the elders and let's have a conversation. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, is that in all of the first line of defense and all that you're talking about, you haven't made mention of the local government administrations. Now, over the years, from what I know, the local government administrations have a system of calling the community leaders, of the traditional rulers, of civil society organizations in the various localities, and even the policemen. They have their own security council, in each of the local governments. So I'm wondering, how come that is never or hardly ever in conversations when we talk about these things?
Well, first and foremost, we also have to look at the success stories of some of these community policing I'm talking about. For instance, these issues are countrywide, nationwide, but we saw how states like Ekiti, Ondo State, through the instrumentality of the Amotekun, stood up. And today, we don't hear of those attacks anymore, because the communities have been moved to stand on their own and to protect, because we cannot continue to apply the same solution that has not worked for the past 2 decades. And that is why there must be support in the fresh initiative by President Bola Tinubu to ensure that the communities are mobilized as a community, and then they work. Also, the coming in of the forest guards are also very, very important. Don't forget that these forests transit from state to state, and these are where the terrorists have a safe haven. It's ungoverned. Nobody goes there. Nobody understands that.
All right.
But the process, we are beginning to have a new solution for the past 2 decades. Where I believe if we give that support, we will begin to see solutions like what we are seeing in Ondo State, where I served briefly, and I saw it in Ekiti State, where the community is collaborating. They are being trained for information gathering, sharing information with the security agencies, and everybody becomes part of the security architecture in that community. And we are seeing a success story, and that is why we believe that the president wants to replicate that success story across the country.
It really doesn't have, if you ask me, Mr. Dati, it really doesn't have to be about the president. Just as you said, okay, for instance, did the president, I don't know if the president played any role in Ekiti and in those states that you're talking about. I'm also aware that in Oyo State, a similar thing had happened. Even in the Lagos, the president said that the same thing happened in Lagos, and he turned it into prosperity, into an opportunity. And a good number of places. Yeah. Let me ask Mr. Makri, just a second. Let me ask Mr. Makri, maybe there is something that we are missing here, because from what Mr. Dati has said, Mr. Makri, it would seem like it's more the job of the state governments to ensure that these things get done. And from the examples that Mr. Dati has said, it doesn't really have to be escalated to the level of the federal government if the states can be as proactive as they should be.
Thank you very much for that question, because you see, that is where we got it wrong. That's where we got it wrong. And a lot of people believe that when things like this happen, the governors will come out and say, oh, I'm the chief security officer, but I don't have the forces, I don't have soldiers or DSS. That is totally wrong. Because I used to work in a state, Lagos State, to be specific. Every Monday there is a security council meeting which is made up of the army, the police, the DSS, and the chairman is the governor, and an SCDC. All of them are invited to this meeting. So you find out that yes, the structure has not been structured in such a way, but even the governors right now, when you come to think about Benue State, the governor cannot say that he has not been talking with the DGSSS or he has not been talking with the IG of police, because these people are at his disposal. There's a commissioner of police there. There's a state director of security there from the DSS. And all these people are briefing him constantly. Now, another one that you mentioned, Dayo, is about local government. You see, these people are collecting their money directly. And I don't know why people feel that, oh, when there is a banditry, then of course it is federal government. When there is any problem, we look at the government. But when it comes to collecting our money directly, they collect it and then they misuse it. We have to ask the governors, if you are the chief security officer of a state, what happens to the security votes that they collect every month, which runs into billions? These are the salient points that we have to look at. Yes, the federal has a role to play, and they will play that role, but at least let us not shirk our responsibilities from the state up to the local government. And remember, crime is local. All the people they are killing is in a particular local government. Yalwata is in a local government right there, and there is a local government chairman. All this is happening, and we can't even hear the local government chairman coming out to say anything. In Benue State, we have the community volunteer guards. Where are they? We are now looking at forest guards, but the volunteer guards are there and they are not doing anything. If you bring the forest guards,
Second,
remember.
if you can hear me, there's something that Mr. Honorable Akigre spoke to the other time, and I'd like you to speak to it before I go back to him. He talked about, and this is something that the Tortiv also mentioned in his speech when the president visited, that, look, we can categorize that the people that are after us, that are attacking us, are Fulani herdsmen. He was very, very specific. And it would seem like even the governor has made that reference a number of times. There is also the conversations out there that some of these so-called rustlers, or whatever I want to call them, they come from outside of Benue into Benue State to foment this trouble. Of course, naturally, the question that no one will be asking is, how come they're not fomenting trouble in Nasarawa State, where they're coming from, and bringing their trouble to Benue State? But what do you make of that? Because over time, I think even since the days of President Yaradua, we've been hearing of Fulani herdsmen and all of those things. Is there such a thing really? Because I would say, and it is according to the law, anyone who performs any form of criminality is a criminal, pure and simple. Or isn't it that, am I being too simplistic, Mr. Macri?
You are not being too simplistic, and I think that is the way to go. I am very, very happy. In fact, talking to some of my former colleagues, I know that arrests has even been made right now, and that was the problem. Before, no arrests were made, no prosecution, But recently, in fact, after the president has visited, a lot of arrests have been made. What I will urge them to do is prosecute them. Let everybody know who are the people causing all this problem, because the kids' glove era, I think, should be over, and there should be synergy among all the intelligence agencies and the military, police, to make sure that we finally bring this to an end. People are dying. So it is very, very important that we take the right steps.
Okay, let me come back to you, Honorable Takiguru. So when the president visited, something that he was very, very explicit about, he proposed two things. Number one, he spoke about a ranch, some kind of ranching. I know that there is a national economic livestock plan that the federal government had in the Buhari days. Whether or not the president is aware of that, I don't know. Maybe some people, if perhaps even in Benue, can let the president know that there is something better, if there is, than ranching, which was seen as a problem at the time. The second thing that the president said was that a committee should be formed. And he was careful to talk about putting former governors of Benue State into a committee and involving certain former security officials, including the Tortiv and maybe one or two other traditional rulers. He may be drawing from what he established in Lagos, which they call the Governor's Advisory Council, so, to deal with whatever aspects of life in Lagos. But what do you make of that? Do you see these two, what do you make of these two initiatives that the president proposed?
Thank you very much for that question. But before I answer it, let me go back to the issue of the local government that my other colleague mentioned. The local government administration in Nigeria is actually dead because local government chairmen do not have their funding. The president, we must appreciate him for ensuring that the local government system has an autonomy. If a chairman of a local government has his funds fully released to him or directly sent to him, of course, he will be able to contain some of the challenges that come in terms of security. A local government chairman can have even his own vigilante in his community because these are the people who understand the environment, who know the environment. They can actually work with security agencies to fish out criminals or people who come from outside to attack. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, governors have refused to release funds or grant autonomies to local government or directly release monies to them. That is one of the biggest challenges we have. We are hopeful, though, that the president, a couple of months ago, gave directive that local governments should open an account with the CBN so that funds will be directly open to them. In my state of Benue, that decision has not been taken. Up to today, no local government in Benue has opened an account because the governor has refused to ensure that they do that. I'm hoping that that will happen. The president will enforce that decision, and the local governments will have their money.
Honorable, on the back of that, if I can quickly,
so that they'll be able to
quickly ask you a question.
Take care of challenges.
Just 1 second, Honorable. My sincere apologies, and please don't lose your line of thought. But on the back of what he just said now, that is the governor has not allowed, or as you said, refused, that the local government administrations should open their accounts. Do you think that if the local government administrations had their access to their own resources directly, the carnage we witnessed could have been avoided?
Definitely so. And everybody in this country know that. It was because when the local government system died, the youths in our rural communities moved to urban centers and then started committing all sorts of crimes. Even the ones that were left in our rural communities couldn't have access to anything. Let me give you an example. In my local government of Guma, the last two allocations that I've seen is about over 450 million. For 30 days, if the chairman of Guma could access 450 million in every 30 days, that's a huge economy for him to give fertilizers to his people, to ensure that security is guaranteed for those communities, because the youth will be willing to work with the local government chairman to do that. If they don't have these funds, what will they do? Sometimes the local government chairman gets just 5 million or 1 million sometimes. I'm aware of that because I speak with my local government chairman. I speak with some chairmen that are under my constituency. And I know this is as a fact. If these funds are released to local government chairmen, we won't have the challenges that we have now in terms of crime in our communities.
So
now,
are you saying, again, my apologies, sincere apologies, my sincere apologies. Please don't lose your train of thought. Should we then be holding the governor responsible for the carnage?
Oh, sure. The government has a lot of responsibility as far as the carnage is concerned. My colleague here mentioned the issue of Amotekun in Oyo and Ondo State. This is because the governors in those states were committed to ensuring that the security and lives of their people were very paramount. So they decided to do that, probably maybe using part of local government funds or coming together to work with the local government funds. I want to give you an example of in Benue State. The last administration set up livestock guards. This administration has not been able to activate livestock guards. Livestock guards are not funded now. They do not have vehicles. They had vehicles in the last administration. In this administration, no single vehicle has been bought for livestock guards. In my local government, in two of my local government that are my constituencies that I know, funding has not been given to them. I spoke to some of them today because these are my brothers in the same community that I know who were members of livestock guards. They've not been funded. No equipment have been given to them since this administration came 2 years ago. I want to also tell you something in my state as regards the issue of this insecurity. My governor has not even been able to come out with a strategy to solving this problem too. Now, the issue of the president calling on the governor to set up a committee. We have 4 living governors, past governors in Benue State. We have Akume is there, is the SGF today. We have Suswam, we have Otom. And then we have Atonkbara. Atonkbara, yes, he served under the military, but he's still a governor of Benue State. He's one of the governors in Benue State. The governor does not speak to these 4. Both of them experience these challenges. If the governor is not communicating with these people, how do you draw from their experience why they were there? It's so sad. That's what's happening in Benue State. And I must tell you that it's sad. We are happy that the president has called for this committee to be set up, and our former governors are involved, our traditional rulers are involved. If that happened and it's truly work, yes, they will share the experience with the governor. And then they will tell him, yes, Akume did this. It happened under Akume. He was able to take care of it. Susan tried his best. Otom came in and kept shouting every day about this issue. He set up a livestock guard. He bought vehicles for them. He equipped them with legal arms. Legal arms within the ambit of the law to be able to take care of this. And we had some level of reprieve. This government has not bought one single vehicle. I haven't seen, not even a motorbike for these people. So tell me how you take care of this problem if you are able to do that. He has not even been able to call the problem by its name.
Okay. Let me ask you, Mr. Dati, let's begin to coast home gradually now because there's quite a list to run through on the program today. Now, the president, in his speech, Mr. Dati, also said something that, well, in a way, inferred something that you also said. He said to the governor directly, I wonder what you guys are talking about at NEC, the National, Economic Council. That also raises the question, if the examples that you gave are anything to go by, how come the Nigerian Governors Forum are not able to come together and have these conversations among themselves? The governor of Benue State was asking for state police and repeating that request. It would seem like, the president kind of just waived it. The president acknowledged your governor and the efforts that he has been making. But then, from what you have also said, there are examples for the governor of Plateau State, the governor of Benue State, to draw from in Ekiti and these other states that you mentioned earlier. What would you propose should be done in order to avert this whole brouhaha?
Thank you very much. I think in addition to these issues solving the political aspect, there is also a very critical aspect of the non-kinetic approach. And a few days ago, we saw a good example in Senator Obasani of Kaduna State, where we all are aware that under the previous government, there were no-go areas, even for the governor. There were bombs going off, crisis attacks. But when he brought governance closer to the people that reflected justice, equity, created opportunity, and showed that government indeed does not look at areas through the lenses of ethnicity or religion. Today, Kaduna State has become a model. And that is why I believe that even as the president is appealing to the governors to consider these issues at their meeting, we also see bright lights from amongst the governors that are also going out and showing how governance should be. The peace that has returned to Kaduna State, especially southern Kaduna State, happened without a gunshot. And that is governance that reflects justice, fairness, equity. And that has won confidence to the people. And I must say at this point also that certain problems we have are also structural. And that is why we must not ignore to support the altruistic design by President Bola Tinubu to ensure the forest guards come on stream. In fact, it is more urgent than ever because from all these attacks, they come in from the forest. The forests are ungoverned. Our security forces are not trained to operate in the forest. But when you have the forest guards, you'll be able to have intelligence, you'll be able to have collaboration with the security agencies, you'll be able to also have collaborations with the community because a much higher percentage of these forest guards will come from the community. So you are now empowering the community as a first point of defense. I just read a piece where Professor Dala Diatu, who is a professor in charge of APIS, a security study, is also looking and putting together how to collaborate and ensure that the community, the forests, the security forces, and the government collaborate to operate under a unitary system that will promote peace and security in the states. And I must also conclude in this state by saying that I remember by 1999 when I was opportune to be a local government chairman, we were receiving our funds directly. Today, the local governments are not receiving their funds. As a local government chairman, even if you want to call community meeting, how much will it cost to provide transportation and host? You want to meet with traditional leaders, it costs money. You want to mobilize the community to even stand up and create the first resistance in case of attacks. All this costs money. The local government chairmen are just sitting ducks. And by the time we begin to empower, and I believe that informs why President Tinubu, who was governor in 1999 when I was privileged to be chairman, operated under a system where the funds and resources were going directly to the local governments. And therefore, like my colleague here is saying, empowering the local government chairman to be able to monitor because they know their areas and they can be held responsible. But a situation where a local government chairman, even the car he rides, is being ordered from the state, I mean, what can he do? The DPO will not even respect when he calls because he does not even have money to give fuel to the vehicle.
That's true.
So these are fundamental issues that I believe that we should rise up, and the governors will appeal to them. There is a standing Supreme Court judgment allowing funds to go to local government. Please and please, we should allow these things to come into friction so that we'll now begin to hold not just the governors, but the local government chairmen accountable. And by the time you are holding a local government chairman accountable, you are holding the councillor too accountable. And then if the local government chairman is not operating, the councillor can wake up. I remember in those periods, we had series of cases where even the councillors were coming up and serving impeachment notices on the local government chairman because they had the power to operate. And if you don't operate, you are held accountable. But you never hear of that these days.
Okay.
Because the position of the local government chairman is deplorable and unfortunate. So we must support the Supreme Court judgment and ensure it comes to fruition. We also must support the long-term solution in seeing the urgency of the forest guards so that we should begin to man those ungoverned spaces.
All right. It's actually very... I still don't know what to make of it when I hear ungoverned spaces, because They belong, the way I understand it, Nigeria it's divided in areas that every ungoverned space falls under a particular local government, and a councillor comes from that place. So I'm wondering how, but maybe a little too simplistic. Well, Mr. Makri, we're coasting home now. The president acknowledged the security operatives when he went to Benue. And he said specifically, let's get them out. Let's get out the criminals. But he also inferred political intervention as being critical to moving forward. Do you see that as something proactive, or is just one of those things a leader says?
Yes, thank you very much for that. It is very proactive, and I think that's the way to go, because, of course, the security agencies are doing their best, and in that process, the political leadership is supposed to work with them. Because if they are doing their work and the political leadership is not is lackadaisical about the whole thing, then we're not going to get any results. Because now, when you think of it, the intelligence community is going to now. There's a lot of intelligence activities going on right now in Benue State. I cannot mention that because we're on air, but there are a lot of activities going on in the intelligence area. And now, when these intelligence are being disseminated to the consumers, who are the governors, even the local government chairman, I think they should use it properly. If they don't know how to use it, they should go back to the security agencies and talk with them. Now, I keep on hearing about forest guards on governed spaces. I think that's a word that we've bandied around for so long, It simply means that there is no government presence in some areas in the country. And then, of course, we can balkanize the police, because forest guards, if we are putting forest guards in place, we should start thinking about the implications. Because number one, we have to train them. Number two, we have to arm them. Because they cannot go and be fighting with cutlass or stick with armed bandits. But if you don't want to also think of the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, which is so many in Nigeria, then I think what we will do is to expand the police and then, of course, get state police. Because that one is a legal structure that is existing. The police was very, very tough in those days. I remember, like when Adewusi was the Inspector General of Police, but it was later weakened because of military coups. Why can't we strengthen the police again and allow the military to go and do external job, external territory protection, and allow internal security to the police? And the police itself cannot be doing federal police. Let's have state police, let's have federal police. But what we do is to draw the lines between federal crimes, state crimes, even local government crimes.
Sounds like we're just about to start and not really doing the things that we need to do yet. Well,
We are not.
we're going home now. Let me ask Honorable Takiger 3 things that you consider a must now that can help a sustainable solution to the carnage that happened in Benue. 3 things that must be done, in your opinion.
Thank you very much. Okay, so if you look at most of the local government that have been under sustained attack from this herdsmen, they border other states. Like my local government, like West, Makurdi, Guma, Logo, Kwande, Kasinala, Ukum, both, the majority of them border Nasarawa State. We border Nasarawa State, and these people come from Nasarawa State to attack us. It's not a secret. The governor of Nasarawa has actually admitted that on TV as giving information or intelligence to his counterpart in Benue over the movement of these people. So I know something. In my local government, I have facilitated the building of two FOBs. FOBs are forward operation bases for the military to either deploy security agencies to deploy people. If the federal government, in the meantime, before the forest guard can deploy people, militaries, or, give funding to either the local government to build these bases on these borders, I think it will go a long way in helping to curb the entrance of people, other people into our state. Secondly, I spoke here about the issue of the anti-open grazing. It's not just the responsibility of the president to enforce it. The state government must be also willing to do its part. Security agencies are deployed to our states. They are valuable. State government, the state governor must be willing to use the money available to him, the security votes available to him, to fund security agencies that are deployed to his states. In the case of Benue, I'm 100% sure this has not been the case, because I speak to security agencies that are deployed, at least to two of my local government. I know that funding has not been coming to them to be able to excise some of the challenges that they face in their areas of deployment. That is one of those two things can be done. Ensure that our law is respected in Benue State. That's between the president and the governor. The governor has a huge role to play in that. Let's build forward operation bases in those areas where these people come in, so that you deploy security around these areas. If that happens, I think we can have some reprieve. Like I said, my local government of Guma has been, Makurdi has been the epicenter of this crisis for the past 14 years. The last 10 years, we have not been able to go to farm. The biggest IDP in this country is located in Daudu. Daudu is just a few kilometers away from Yelwata, where this incident took place. Our people have not been able to farm for the past 10 years. We have been in IDPs. It's a big challenge for us. We are appealing to the president to step up, even to step up the issue of security in Benue State, to stay focused on the issue of security in Benue State. That is the only way that we will be able to go back to our farms and create an economy for ourselves. And our only economy is farming. You can't do that along cattle. We have always said this. And then there is something else that people mention about. The last president mentioned about living with our neighbors. I don't understand how herdsmen are our neighbors. We only find herdsmen in our villages, in our communities, sometimes destroying our crops. How are they our neighbors? We know our neighbors. In Benue State, we have the Idoma, we have the Agatu, we have Igede, we have other languages. These are our neighbors that we know. We have
let's hope
and then we have wait 1 minute. We have other communities that are with us in Makurdi that we know them. They were born there, their parents were born there, and we know them, we relate with them. How can you meet somebody in your farm and then you call him your neighbor? It's a challenge that TV platform, news platform, should be able to differentiate between your neighbor and your hostile attacker who comes into your community to attack.
Well, this is one of the reasons, Honorable, for the conversation we're having.
We know
now.
our neighbors.
Yeah. Mr. Dati, you have 30 seconds to close out because we are totally out of time. 3 things that you think must be done to end the carnage, particularly in Plateau State.
Well, I want to say that basically the 3 things, number 1, is that there are already steps that have been taken by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and those steps should be supported by all parties involved. Number 1, the implementation of direct funding of local government is very key, because it now begins to spread down those responsibilities to the local government chairmen and the councillors who stay in those communities. Number two also is to ensure that we begin to man those governed spaces. Because if you talk about the movement of these people, one thing is clear, whether in the southwest, southeast, north central, northwest, these people use the forests. And those are the ungoverned spaces. And that is why we must look and support the forest guards to ensure that it comes quickly and urgently on board, so that whatever it takes, there should be a collaborative effort to ensure that it comes on stream. We know in other countries we have port guards, we have police that take care of the seas and all that. Right now, the model that worked 20 years is no longer working. We are having new threats, and that is why the issue of forest guards, community policing is also very key. Number three is that all the states, what we have in Ametuku, we have replications in all the states, but some of the states are failing due to ethnicity and other fault lines that operate in those states. But those states where the things are working are where they don't have issues of ethnicity, where they are accused of being biased.
Absolutely.
So that is why by the time the federal government comes in, it's going to help. And I'm also happy that we have the director of the DSS who is giving examples of communities standing up in Bauchi to stop attack. We have Christopher Musa, who is talking about going out of the box, to think out of the box in talking about building walls across.
We can only hope, Mr. Dati, well, so many issues have been raised here.
Has been able to coordinate the security infrastructure.
Yes, so many issues have been raised here.
There's a need to allow him to train, to coordinate the forest guard, so that we'll be able to have a free between the police, the forest
Mr.
guards,
Dati, sincerely, our time is up,
and
I just want to thank you for all of the expansion of this conversation that we have had this morning. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. I'm just hoping that this will end, because at the end of the day, the people that are dying, they are not just numbers. They are human beings. They are Nigerians. Yakubu Dati, Governing Council member of the Governing Council of the Federal Polytechnic Ile-Oluji, a former Plateau State Commissioner for Information, and as he has also revealed to us, a former local government chairman. Thank you so much for your time. Honorable Dixon Tikigero, member representing Makurdi Guma Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, in Benue State in the House of Representatives. Thank you, as well as Mr. Dennis Amakri, who is a former Assistant Director of the Department of State Services. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning. Truly appreciate it. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we take on another issue quickly. Do stay with us.